On this week's episode of the Players Experience podcast, we chat with former Canadian Women's Hockey League player KellyTerry. We chat with Kelly on her experience in women's hockey, what it was like to represent Team Canada not once but twice at major games, both in the IIHF tournament in 2015 and a competition in 2010. We also chat with Kelly about her work now off the ice as a strength and conditioning specialist and a doctor of physical therapy, which is very impressive in my mind. Before we bring Kelly onto the show, I just want to give a shout out to our production team, Jay Sulte Photography and Bigmar Productions, for the work that you see each and every week with the videos and the photos. Shout out to our merch production, 19 Marketing, for the merch that they provide for the show. Hit us up on Instagram if you guys would like to purchase any of the merch available for the show. Also, guys, we have discount codes with the Jaywalk, Hush Blankets, and the Great North Apparel, so make sure to use the Players Experience code when you're checking out to get some discounts with them. And lastly, guys, if you haven't done the subscription to the YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Make sure to subscribe now so that you don't miss any new and exciting content each and every week as we continue to talk with pro athletes, sport reporters, and individuals in sport. Now, without further ado, let's bring Kelly on and start talking about how her hockey career got started. Hey, Kelly, how's it going today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Long time no see. It's been a while since high school, but how have you been doing?
Pretty good. Making me think about high school. I feel like I'm ancient, but nice to see you.
You too. Hey, and I'm older than you. Come on now.
Still, I cannot believe it's been over 10 years since I graduated. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Time flies, especially when you're having fun. That's what the saying goes. So.
Yes, it's true.
But yeah, so thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I want to get to know about your hockey career, about what you're doing now, especially with your physical therapy work and everything. But before we start each show, I always like to start every show off with a segment called Rapid Fire. So I'm just going to start off with asking you 4 questions, and I just want you to spit off the first thing that comes to your mind.
Oh, boy. Okay.
All right. So favorite time of day?
Favorite time of day, first thing in the morning. I like to watch the sunrise.
All right. Cool. Strangest thing in your fridge right now?
Right now, I have a bunch of mangoes that I maybe sort of stole from neighbors because it's definitely mango season in Florida and they're amazing and in the surplus. So I got a bunch of those in my fridge right now.
Hey, you know what? And they're healthy and they're delicious, so you can't go wrong.
Yeah, but it is kind of strange, like who has that many mangoes, but they're free, so.
TV show that you're currently watching?
I just started Schitt's Creek on Netflix.
Oh man, okay, so when you get to season, I think it's 5 or season 6, let me know what you think. I finished Schitt's Creek and it was a very great show. Obviously it won a bunch of awards, but yeah, I want to hear what your thoughts are when you're done it.
So far, so good. Ever since they took Friends and Office off Netflix, I have to have something else to binge, so this might be it.
That's true. And what would be another sport you'd like to compete in?
Oh, I cannot pick between surfing and beach volleyball. And all my friends from home are going to think I'm crazy obsessed with those 2 sports. But after moving to Florida, I just can't get enough.
You know what? And Florida has the great weather. It has some great beaches. You got to take advantage of it, you know?
Yeah, this is true.
So how did you know that you wanted to start off playing hockey professionally?
Wow, that's a tough question. My hockey journey started when I was just a kid and I wanted to do everything that my brother did. He played hockey, so that's how I picked up the sport. I don't think I really knew I wanted to pursue hockey full time or as my primary sport until about grade 10. And that was when I first got invited to the national team camp. And from then on, that was my full-time commitment, was to be the best hockey player I could be. So I think it was after that experience, it's every Canadian kid's dream to play for Team Canada. So that was it.
That's incredible. And yeah, we're going to talk about your experience with Team Canada and what that moment and what that training was like for you. But you started off your career in 2010 when you joined the Minnesota Golden Gophers of the NCAA, where you would collect 39 points in just 38 games. What was it like for you to put in the work and dedication like that year and kind of make a name for yourself early on?
Wow. First of all, you're making me sound way cooler than I am. But that first year as a freshman in Minnesota, wow, it's so long ago, it's hard to remember, but it was the first time that hockey felt super professional in the sense that we had our locker room and our fans and, our whole team of nutritionists and strength and conditioning coaches and all of those luxury type things that were provided to us. And so I think having that support and just how professional we felt made me play my best every day, because it just in a way I felt cool. So being able to put on that jersey and have real fans cheering us on and everything, that was enough motivation for me right there. And just how surreal it was that I was playing in a Division I college at this amazing school. That created that internal dedication, I guess.
Now, talking about that internal dedication and opportunities, additionally in 2010, you were part of the Canadian national women's team where you guys ended up taking home gold that year. How was that event for you, and what would you say was the most memorable experience, like surrounding just being part of that team and game to compete nationally?
That was insane. Like I said, growing up a Canadian hockey player, that's your ultimate goal, is to put on that jersey. And to do it, while I was in high school and in Chicago, so I was able to have some of my friends and family come down to watch. It's an experience that I just can't even describe. Like, it was quite literally a dream come true. We did really well against most teams. Of course, we had some challenge against the Americans, which we always do, but we were able to come up on top. And that classic pile on your goalie after the big win was just an insane feeling.
It's a good thing that no one got hurt in that pile, because you never know. Skates are flying, bones are laying on top of one another,
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because in college when we had a championship win, I happened to be on the very bottom, and I remember thinking, like, I'm so happy right now, but at the same time, I think I might die. It's quite heavy when you got 26 players with equipment on top of you.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I've asked every Canadian gold medalist, whether they're an Olympian or just a gold medalist in general, because you said earlier, like in my second question, that making you sound a lot cooler than you are, but no, it's awesome to be part of Team Canada and be part of the national teams. And my question about your gold medal is, where do you like to keep your medals? I've had some Canadian athletes say they've kept them in Lululemon bags beside their dog toys, in their closets, at their parents' house. Where do you keep your medal?
Mine are currently back home in Canada. They didn't make the trip to Florida with me, but I know my parents are looking to, start the retirement process, and they're like, Kelly, get all your crap out of my house. So eventually I'm going to have to pack up all my extra trinkets, including my medals, and bring them somewhere with me. So right now they're back home, I think in a closet, and will eventually find their way to Florida, I think.
Hopefully safely. And if you ever stop off at Michael's, they have some great jersey and medal frames that you can get to hang up like jerseys like this that you can put your medals in. Just a little fun fact for you.
Okay. You get paid for that little plug there for Michaels?
I do not. I wish I got paid for things like that, but no, I do not get paid. I just
tag at Michaels on this and see what they do for you.
Yeah, exactly. Next thing I know, there's gonna be like 50 jersey frames for any signed jerseys I get down the road.
Perfect.
Yeah. Now, your hockey journey continued in 2014 when you played with the Toronto Furies of the CWHL. What was it like for you to be a local kid in Canada and in Durham, being able to play in the CWHL and continue to compete competitively?
That was pretty cool. The CWHL, they were a startup. They were trying to make it into a league where female hockey players could continue their career after college. And I have to say, the management behind the CWHL did a fantastic job trying to make that league as professional as possible. So being part of the Toronto Furies was awesome. They did a really great job for us. And again, having my home arena be so close to my parents and my friends, I was able to get people out to watch all the time, which is always super fun. I think it's quite a bummer that the league had to fold, ultimately for the greater good of women's hockey, but overall, I love my experience with Toronto.
What was your favorite game or like city that kind of stood out for you while you were competing with the Furies that stood out the most?
The first thing that came to my head just now was the game that Toronto was playing Calgary, and Calgary was stacked with Team Canada Olympians and gold medalists, and Natalie Spooner. Toronto happened to just have a few national team players, so the competition was quite steep. Natalie Spooner had 6 points. I don't remember how many goals and how many assists. She might have even had 6 goals. I don't remember, but we ended up, I think we won like 6-5, and it was just like the Natalie Spooner show, and she just took over and just, okay, I'm going to score now. And that was that. And it was insane. And that was definitely my most memorable game with Toronto.
Now, what's it like to play with someone like Natalie Spooner and like being able to be teammates with her and see kind of her perform like a 6-point game like that?
Well, at the time, she was also my roommate and one of my really good friends. I was supposed to reunite with her this summer for her wedding. I was going to be a bridesmaid at her wedding. So, darn COVID's putting a stop to that. But Natalie was an amazing teammate, an amazing friend. And then on top of that, to watch how skilled she was and just what kind of force she was out there was pretty fantastic. I always felt like whenever we'd go to our skills practices and things like that, I just look at her and be like, oh man, I'm never gonna be able to shoot like that. Like how does she do that? It's pretty crazy. The other thing is Natalie and I were training buddies for a good 5 years at ETS in Whitby with Fitzy. So to watch her work ethic too, we always pushed each other. So that was, I guess, on and off the ice, we'd push each other. And I think a great friendship came out of it, and also just, better athletes on both sides.
That's awesome. Well, hey, if I ever get to chat with Natalie Spooner, I'm going to ask her the exact same question about you, and we'll see what
It's going to be like, one time we ordered unicorn onesies online, and that was fun. We had quite an interesting relationship. I love that girl.
No, that's awesome. And hey, like you said, when you're training with someone and you're roommates with someone, you're going to form that bond and that relationship with them, right? And it's just going to be a natural thing that ends up producing on the ice just as much as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, you talked about how the CWHL has folded for the greater good of women's hockey. What was your thought process around that announcement and the impact that it left with women's hockey in Canada, and kind of like now the formation of the National Women's Hockey League?
Yeah, so kind of an interesting perspective that I have, just being so far removed from the sport. So I almost have less emotion involved in it. At the time that was announced, I was already retired myself and moving along with my professional career. And I think that this is a very good thing. I know a lot of people might not agree, but we do need to somehow establish one league. And with having the CWHL and the NWHL going on at once, it's pretty hard to make happen. I'm really proud of a lot of my friends and teammates who have put together their own league here to try to, promote women's hockey. It's the best players in the world, and they all came together from different countries, and they were able to create some great publicity around the sport, and I hope that momentum keeps going.
No, for sure. And women in sport needs to be demonstrated a heck of a lot more than it currently is. And hopefully, like you said, with this league, it'll just demonstrate that ability and the resourcefulness a lot more than it currently is as time goes by.
I agree.
Now, before we talk about your work as a strength and conditioning specialist and a doctor of physical therapy, I want to ask you about your time at the IIHF World Women's Championship in 2015, where you took home a silver medal representing the Canadian jersey once again. What was it like for you at those games to not only represent Canada twice, but to be able to reach the podium at those games as well?
That was pretty fantastic. The Chicago World Championships with the under-18 team, so to play with Olympians alongside them was quite the experience. I definitely had to fight through some adversity for my own game, given like a different role on the team and recognizing that, there's some amazing players that I'm playing with, and I'm going to take and accept whatever role they give me. Struggle with that a little bit at the beginning, but when I step back and really think about my experience, I can't regret a thing, because to put on the jersey alongside, half the team were Olympians, that was quite amazing. It was out in Sweden, so my parents weren't able to be at that one, which was tough, but it was aired online, it was actually on live TV back in Canada, so that made us feel like quite the big deals, and probably the peak of my career.
That's incredible. Well, hey, kudos to you, because to win a few medals, represent Canada, that's a pretty big deal, and you definitely made Whippy and Durham proud by doing so. So,
Thanks.
that's off to you. Now, currently outside of hockey, as I mentioned, you're a strength and conditioning specialist, and you just recently finished as a student, and you are now a doctor of physical therapy. How much work went into your role now, and how much experience came from hockey that you still use today, in that role?
So to make it through school, I would say being a student athlete definitely helped with that. A doctorate degree program is obviously very demanding, but being a student athlete in my undergrad was also very demanding. So surprisingly, I felt like I had a lot of free time, which I don't think any of my classmates would agree with. But all of a sudden, having this freedom of not having practices or training or anything, and all I have to do is focus on school, was pretty awesome. And then on top of that, knowing that this is going to be my future career, and I don't care about just passing, I want to be really great at my job, was an extra motivation there. As it relates to, the experiences I had as a hockey player, my field in the direction that I chose to go in my career focuses on sports and orthopedics. So I get a ton of athletes come through, all the way from the weekend warriors, we got the high school kids, we got the collegiate kids, and then even some professional athletes. And I feel like I'm able to use my experiences as an athlete to not only help them physically and with their injuries and their rehab, but also mentally on their mindset as they're moving through their rehab and getting back to sport. It's a lucky thing that I have, a good experience that I have, and a good perspective for the patients that I work with.
That's awesome, because you made a difference on the ice. Now you're making a difference off the ice, and like you said, going from that, using that mental perspective, because physical rehabilitation is one thing, but the mental game is all another full side of it. And like using your athlete knowledge to be able to also connect with these guys too is incredible. And I think you have, like, it helps build that trust in them knowing that, like, they're going to one of the best, really, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I also have to give a big shout out to like my strength and conditioning coaches and things like that, because I learned so much as an athlete that I am able to carry over into my treatment plans. And I'm able to recognize the physical demands that athletes have and then incorporate all the medical knowledge that I also have now in order to create this atmosphere, or basically a plan of care that's going to maximize the outcomes for all these athletes. It's something that I couldn't learn in PT school. So to have the experience before PT school, I'm super grateful for.
That's awesome. Now, a lot of individuals have mentors in their lives that help push them to success. Was there someone in your life that was there for you, and was that driving force behind your hockey career and then your schooling?
Yes, I actually have to give a shout out to multiple people and they're all family members, but my parents are insanely hardworking. They allowed me to recognize the big picture beyond hockey. I don't think I would have considered life after hockey if it wasn't for them encouraging me to, take a look at what I might be doing later. It allowed that transition from sport to my professional career to be much smoother, because I didn't have that in-between phase where I was like, what am I doing with my life? I actually went right to PT school after I retired. So parents, big shout out to them. Otherwise, both of my brothers are incredibly smart. They're both engineers. My older brother's got his master's in business. And they showed me, again, the life beyond sport, and how happy they are and how successful they are with their careers, and how intelligent they are, and how they handled school and everything. So it placed value on something else other than hockey for me, just taking after what my family was doing.
Now, taking that advice from your family and that mentorship, I like to end off every show with a segment of my own called Words of Wisdom. So this is
Mhm.
where I want to find out what your words of wisdom or advice would be to the next generation of student athletes or hockey players that want to get into a sport and kind of start making a career for themselves, but may not know where to go or how to start.
Okay, so words of wisdom, very short phrase. My coach in college, my assistant coach in college, would always say this to us, and it is just choose joy. I love this question because I always think of JJ and the choose joy, because it's such an easy answer, but it's the best thing that anyone's ever said to me, because it applies to so many different things. You can wake up and you can choose to be joyful, and you can choose not to be joyful. And that applies to, if something's going wrong in hockey, for instance, you're not playing enough, or you had a bad game, or you're not scoring, just step back and be like, all right, that's happening, but I'm choosing to be happy. You could have a bunch of tests coming up that week, and it's so stressful and you don't know what you're going to do. But you can still choose to be joyful in that week, and it's just going to help you figure out how to prepare for those exams. Family issues, maybe something's going wrong, but you can still choose to be joyful overall. So choose joy, no matter what it is, whether it's sport, relationships, family, friends, school, work. Choose joy.
Incredible. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for being on the show today and taking the time to chat about your hockey career, and best of luck with all the strength and conditioning work. And it's only a matter of time, I think, before we see you behind the bench of an NHL team, helping their strength and conditioning coach. Maybe we'll somehow get you like on a Florida team, or if you want to come back up to Canada, get you up behind the Leafs bench one day.
I don't know. I got a pretty sweet job down here in Florida, but we'll see.
That's incredible. Awesome. Well, Kelly, thanks so much. And we look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.